What is going on, guys? Matt here. Today we are looking at the SOG Terminus XR. You can see I got a couple different examples here on the table. Really interesting knife, new knife for SOG that seems to kind of taken the EDC knife community by storm. And we're going to kind of talk about why I think that is. First, let's look at some size comparisons of this SOG XR. So you can see I got a couple of different options, but let's leave the micarta satin finish stone washed blade on the table for a second, and we're gonna put it up against here we go, Ontario rat number 1. You guys know the size of that. You know, it's about a 3-inch blade on this, so a little bit smaller. This would be more of a size comparison to the rat 2, like very similar in sizes to that, but I don't have a rat 2 because generally I prefer knives about this size. All right, let's compare it to Benchmade Griptilian. We're going to talk about the similarities between these two blades. Again, this would be more of a size comparison to the mini grip, but here's the full-size grip. You can see a little bit larger, but honestly, handle not that much larger. And we'll talk about that handle here in a little bit. And let's do one more. We'll compare it to the only other SOG knife I own, which is the SOG Aegis. Aegis, I guess that's pronounced. I think it's Aegis. The full stainless, as you can see, handled knife. I got this on a great sale, and I think these are on sale at like Blade HQ right now or Midway USA for like 15 bucks. That's a great deal. This is a stainless frame lock. It's got a nice deep carry clip. It's 8CR, so one of those working steels I talk about. Nice, really thin, full, flat grind. Really great for slicing. You know, this is like an ideal knife if you're cutting apples or stuff like that, right? So yeah, again, another 3.5-inch blade, but not terribly far off in size. So the SOG Aegis, it's been a very, very popular knife, and there's a couple of reasons why I think that is, and we're going to kind of talk about those as we talk about the knife itself. But first, let's talk about some specs. Then we'll get into what I like, what I don't mind, what I dislike, and something unique about the SOG Terminus XR. So, all right, let's take this one off for a second. We'll focus on the G10 kind of. I guess this feels kind of like a hunting kind of branded styled one. This was at Midway USA limited edition right here, but very almost blaze orange in that G10 and coated blade. So if you're outside, that D2 is not going to rust. So let's talk about these specs real quick. So we got a 3-inch blade on the SOG Terminus XR, 7 inches overall, so that leaves a 4-inch handle. It is 0.11 inches thick on that blade stock, relatively thin blade stock, but not terribly thin, about what you'd think for a knife of this size. This is a drop point design, but honestly, it really feels clip point to me. What do you guys think about that? Like they label it as a drop point, but it is clipped up there. Yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments on that one. It's 3.32 ounces, which is a great weight for this blade. We'll talk about that later. This is in D2, Cryo D2. I'm not sure if that means anything or if it's just kind of a marketing thing that they do. A lot of places say Cryo D2, but it is D2, which is a tool steel, non-stainless tool steel. It is thumb stud and flipper opening, which is nice. You have both of those options. And of course, you can undo the lock mechanism, much like you can do on the Benchmade Griptilian. Let's see if I can do this. Yeah, right there. So, which is like a bar lock. I'm not sure if they have a proprietary name for this lock, but it's very similar to the Benchmade Axis lock. We'll talk about that a little later. There are so many options with this knife, so many different colors, which is really cool. I love that they did that right off the bat. You can get this in just about any color you could want. Numerous handle scales. So obviously we have G10. We have Finish micarta right here. They make it in carbon fiber. They make it in S35. They make so many different lineups. And it seems like the Terminus or the XR series, I'm not sure if they have a series name for it, is kind of their flagship folding model series. And it's been getting very popular. So let's talk about what I like about the SOG Terminus XR. Guys, I really like this blade style. Again, let me know what you think. It really feels more like a clip point to me, but I guess it is a drop point. It's got nice belly. I mean, most of the blade is belly. It's ground nice and thin, slices very well. Just a very neutrally designed clip point, or drop point rather. And it's just very utilitarian, very nice, easy to sharpen, not too long, very great for EDC tasks. And I really like that jimping along the top of the blade. I think that's very, very nice. So I just think that this blade is really great. The stone washing is quite nice on here. It's not quite as nice as something like the Cold Steel Spartan, which feels more elegant, and this is just like a DLC or like a Teflon. It's not DLC, definitely not DLC. It's like a Teflon coating. It looks like just like a paint. But yeah, that's why I kind of feel like this is like kind of geared towards your hunters, right? Would this be a great skinning knife? That's a lot of belly. That is a lot of belly. I think this would actually be really good for a lot of hunting tasks if you want a folding knife. There's always that issue of getting gunk in the pivot, but if you want a folding knife, this is a great option. Either of these, obviously. So what else do I like about this? I really appreciate how lightweight it is. 3.3 ounces for a 3-inch blade. That's right in the ballpark, right? That's right what you want. You want kind of your ounces to match your blade length, right? I think the Rat 1 weighs about 5 ounces. That's a 3.5-inch blade. That's heavy, right? And it's because those steel liners, really thick steel liners, makes it pretty strong. But still, that's just a heavy blade. One thing that lightens this up, let's see if we can see this. Skeletonized. You can see that orange G10 popping through, right? So these are skeletonized, these liners, and that lightens this up with also keeping this a just crazy strong knife. And let's get into that real quick when we talk about what I like. This is a super, super durable knife. Why is that? Well, obviously you have D2 steel, you have micarta or G10, both very strong materials. And then you have steel liners, which are skeletonized, but still steel liners. Additionally, you have this lock. And again, I should have looked up. I'm not sure if they have a name for it. They might not. It's just a bar lock. And the way it works is when the knife is undeployed, rather. Let's actually do this on this other one because you'll be able to see it easier. That bar right here, these little plastic, I don't know what you would call them, where your fingers go right here, right? You disengage that so that bar comes down so that it can pivot, and then it goes back up so that all of the pressure really is either on this bar right here, this little pin, or this pin in the middle, that bar that is the locking mechanism. So it's a very strong locking mechanism, very similar, yes, you guessed it, to the Benchmade. Let's get this one off the table. Axis lock. Now, that's a much thicker pin right there, right? But it's a very similar design, and I guess the patent for the Axis lock has run out, so you see a lot of companies using, it's not exactly the Axis lock, it's just very similar. A lot of companies use liner locks too, right? There's not really a patent on that. Same thing with frame locks. A lot of companies use frame locks, even though I think Chris Reeves is the one who kind of popularized that. Anyway, so this has kind of that bar lock. So this is going to be a very, very stout knife, very strong knife for its size. You're not going to have to, worry about this thing breaking, this thing, over travel with, say, like a liner lock, stuff like that. This is going to be a very strong knife, even though it's very small and even though it only weighs 3.3 ounces. And I really appreciate that. I like when a knife has a nice, smooth, easy, kind of quick pivot, but also super tough. It's something I've always appreciated about, a lot of Benchmades, and it's something I really appreciate about this. Another thing I really like is the price for the materials. Now, I got this thing. I think it was Midway USA. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah. They had a crazy sale on these, and this is a limited edition, so maybe they were getting rid of them. These were $20, and so yeah, you guessed it. I bought 3 of them, right? I'm gonna give a couple away as gifts because I think these are great knives, and that kind of shows you what I recommend it. Well, yeah, we'll get to that later. But but even for this micarta version, this is the Blade HQ exclusive. This I think is like $42 right now. But if you're getting a standard SOG Terminus, you're looking at about $50, $60. Still a very good deal, I think. Still very well worth it. And so for the materials, D2, good steel. It's not great. It's not the best thing in the world, but it's going to be above stuff like HCR and above stuff like OS 8, right? So it's kind of one of those steels that's above that working steel level that I'm going to enjoy and get more use out of. So for the price for the materials, micarta or G10, you're getting a good deal, and I appreciate that about this knife as well. I also really like the options that you have for opening this knife. So you have your flipper, right? you have your thumb stud, and then you have the kind of axis opening, where you pull the locking bar down, you engage that mechanism and kind of flip it open. So I think that's pretty cool. What I appreciate about that is, especially someone who has a lot of knives, and many of you guys watching this probably are in the same boat. You have a lot of knives. Some are flippers, some are thumb stud openings. And so sometimes you don't remember which knife's in your pocket, and you go to flip it and it's a thumb stud, or you go to thumb stud and it's a flipper. So that's cool that wherever your finger kind of goes, you're going to find it on this one, and I appreciate that about this. Another thing specifically on this model right here, I really like this finished micarta. I like unfinished micarta because it's kind of cool. It kind of takes in your sweat and it'll kind of mold to you as a user. I think that's pretty fun. But this finished micarta is really nice. It's kind of got like an olive green to it, and I think it's really pretty. And I think it fits the aesthetic of this blade very, very well. So I like this G10 well enough. We'll talk about something I don't particularly like about it though. But G10, good material as well. So let's get into what I don't mind. So I like the overall idea of this clip. I just think it's kind of strange. So you can see like a normal pocket clip, you just have your screws. They go into the scale of the knife. And, if it's a good knife, it's kind of, they get them out of the way. And if it's a well-designed one, they stay out of the way. So this has no screws, obviously, impeding in the pocket. And maybe that's the idea behind it. But it goes up and around all the way over into this back spacer, and it screws in right there. I don't hate this. I mean, it carries nicely. Like, it carries plenty deep. I just don't get it. I feel like it's a strange design. Even though it's not like a terrible clip, it's just something that, when I look at it, it's like, oh, that doesn't really look aesthetic. And maybe it's just because I'm used to seeing, folding knives in a certain way. I'm used to seeing them with pocket clips, and they have, screws on the outside, that kind of thing. So anyway, it's something I don't mind because it's not something I don't really like, or it's not something I don't not like. What do you guys know what I'm talking about, right? All right, let's move on. Another thing I don't mind is packaging is just kind of meh, right? And the packaging isn't the knife, so it's not going to be something I say I don't like, but I just do want to mention it. It feels like a cheap knife, even though, it's not. It's made of good materials. You can see right here. Oh, right here it says the weight's 3.2 ounces. Huh. And 7.2. I got these stats, the other stats off Blade HQ, so maybe this is a little bit off. I think they weigh their own stuff, so they get like really accurate. So anyway, yeah, packaging's kind of meh, so that's something that I don't mind. All right. Let's talk about the things I don't like. So I don't like that these this opening mechanism, these studs on, that's what we'll call them. These studs on the opening mechanism are plastic. I know it's the same way on the Spyderco Manix, and that's like a big complaint because you have this like tough, brutal knife. It's got plastic, studs right there. They don't look bad. They look fine and they work fine, and I think that's okay. But I just, again, you guys know, if a knife is made of like nice G10 and steel, I don't want plastic on it. I just don't. I would prefer that to be aluminum. If that was aluminum, that would have been awesome, and it would have felt much more premium. So that's something I don't particularly like about it. I also don't like it, you guessed it, plastic back spacers. I just am not a fan, again, of a plastic material when you have really nice materials otherwise. So I would just prefer, if you're going to have a backspacer, make it aluminum or something just that's going to give more of a premium material. Better yet, make it a flow-through design like the Griptilian. There you go. That's what I prefer. Easier to get stuff out of. Anyway, on this model particularly, I do want to mention this. The G10 is quite rough. Now, it's not terribly rough, and even just I've carried it just for like a day, and it's actually smoothed out a little bit, but it comes quite rough out of the box, and that might just be this model. I haven't opened up those other ones, so those might not be as bad, but it is quite rough under that really quite tight clip, so I'll have to pull that clip up or maybe sand down that. That's not the end of the world, but I do want to mention it because I always mentioned it with my cold steels, even though they did finally fix that problem in their newer versions. Now, last thing I want to mention that I don't particularly like about these, and it was with both of these, the mechanisms and kind of the deployment was a little bit rough for both of these. Now, it's really not bad, but like you can still feel this. Let's see if I can get this near camera. I'm gonna open and close this on camera right here, or next to the microphone. You can kind of feel how it's sticking a little bit and it's a little gritty. I've had this one for a couple weeks now. It's not that way at all, the micarta version, so it's clearly smoothed out. And this one was a lot more rough than this one out of the packaging. Sorry, I bumped the camera right there. So that is just something to be mentioned. This one was still a little bit, it just wasn't quite as smooth as other knives. That being said, guys, how much are you paying? $50? You're not paying $200. This is unacceptable if this is gritty, right? It's $200. So, that's not fantastic. Now, I do have knives that were a lot smoother out of the box, right? Like this. This rat. That being said, this is also a liner lock, so a little bit of a different animal. But anyway, a little bit gritty. Let it wear in. Use a little bit of oil, and you'll be good to go. No worries at all. So, what's unique about these? Well, I think one of the cool things, and I say this with a few knives who do this right. Particular companies I think do this right, and SOG is one of them. When they come out with a knife, they come out with a lot of different versions, and this knife has gotten really, really popular. I think that's one of the reasons. What's unique is you have so many options. You like micarta, you like G10, you like carbon fiber, you like the different colors, the different variations, satin, stonewashed, Teflon coated. You like they have one in S35. So there's just so many options, and I think that's really unique because say you like this design. I know a lot of people who they like specific knives or they like specific, guitars or anything like that. But the colors or like the schemes, they just don't really, really like at all. And so I think it's really cool that they come out with so many versions. And I think that's really unique is if you like the SOG Terminus XR, you can kind of get what you want. And I really appreciate that. And so that's what's unique to me. The reason I think this knife is getting so popular and has become so popular is one, well, it's a good knife. It's a well-designed knife. It's just a solidly built knife, a really tough knife at a great price. But also, it's kind of filling that itch for, yeah, you guessed it, the Benchmade Griptilian, but at a much, much cheaper price, and in materials that aren't much lower than, maybe not this one, but the S35 version, right? In some cases, micarta and G10 better than the FRN, in my opinion. But if you like a mini grip and you don't want to spend $100, you can spend $50 and get almost identical performance, maybe aside from a tiny bit of edge retention and definitely a little bit of rust resistance from S30 to D2, but not much difference in edge retention really. And you're still getting the same strength really, in some cases better handle materials, and that's why I think this has become such a popular knife. And I think they did a good job. SOG was off the radar for a lot of people, I feel, and honestly it seems like the Terminus XR really put them back on the radar, which I think is cool. Good job, SOG. I absolutely recommend this one. Pick them up, especially this one. I really, really like this one, this micarta version. I think it's still on sale for like $42 on Blade HQ. Pick this thing up, guys. Thanks so much for watching the review. Remember, we are doing a giveaway on the Cold Steel Kobun. I think I have it right here. Yes, I do. Doing a giveaway on this Cold Steel Kobun right here. That giveaway is going to end next week. I don't know what day it'll be after the 8th because that's a month from when the giveaway started. Make sure to go back to that video. It's a few videos ago. It says I'm giving away a Cold Steel Kobun. Follow the instructions on that so that you can be entered to win. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.